Hey there everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. I am so excited to be spending some time with you today sharing some of my favorite Thanksgiving Day recipes. Now you all know that I love to cook and I love sharing recipes with you all. So what I've done is I've gathered some of my favorite recipes to share with you in preparation for the big meal. So of course we're going to start things off with the main event. We have a oven roasted turkey breast that I know you're gonna love. Check it out. Well, it's not Thanksgiving without turkey. Now, my family's a little bit on the small side, so a turkey breast is all we need. We don't need an entire turkey. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make an oven roasted turkey breast that is going to be perfect for a small family Thanksgiving. Let's get started. Here's what you're going to need. 1 turkey breast, half a teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of sage, half a teaspoon of rosemary, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and 4 tablespoons of butter. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I've got all of my spices all measured out. I'm going to go ahead and mix that in to my butter and stir that up to make a nice little mixture that is then going to go on top of my turkey breast. All right, once that's all stirred up, then you're just going to pour that right on top. All right, so once you've got all that put on top, then we're going to throw it into a 350-degree oven for about an hour or until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees at the thickest part of the meat. So let's go ahead and throw this in the oven. Be right back. All right, the turkey should be ready. Let's take a look. It looks amazing. Super excited about this. There we go. All right, it looks great. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is slice it up and enjoy. All right, so there you go. That's a really simple way to fix a turkey breast. So if you are a small family like mine and that is all the turkey you need, then that's a perfect recipe for you. But if you are expecting a few more people at your Thanksgiving gathering, then you can head on over to ky3.com. I've got a list of all of the recipes that I'm going to be showing you today, but I also have included the recipe for how to make that for a big turkey. So make sure to hop online and check that out. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is a Thanksgiving turkey sandwich. You know, if we all have those leftovers, especially if you do have a big gathering. So it's important to know how to make the meal a little bit different for the next day. So I have a recipe that is fantastic. Check this one out. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm sure you are stuffed from your Thanksgiving feast that you've had today, and maybe you're wondering what to do with all those leftovers. Well, I have got just the recipe for you. This is going to be a turkey and brie grilled cheese. It's absolutely delicious and you're going to love it. Let's get started. So here's what you're going to need. Bread, butter, cranberry sauce, turkey, and brie. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our bread and we're going to put butter on one side and make sure you get that spread in really well. Then we're going to put that directly into our pan with some turkey, and then a couple of pieces of brie. And I left the rind on the brie because it does get really runny when it's melted. Take another slice of bread. We've already buttered one side of it. And then we're going to spread on some cranberry sauce on the other side. And place that right on top. Then we're going to let that fry up for about 2 minutes until one side is golden brown. Then we're going to flip it over. Oh, perfect. All right, it looks like it's ready to go. So then all you have to do, throw that on a plate. And then I personally like to cut my sandwiches at a diagonal. serve it up and enjoy. Brie is my all-time favorite cheese, so this sandwich was one of my favorite things to make, and especially when you throw on that cranberry sauce to give it just a little bit extra sweetness, then it's my absolute favorite. All right, so the next recipe that I have for you guys is a side dish. It is going to be sweet potatoes and apples, so here we go. It is officially November and Thanksgiving is going to be here before you know it, so I'm helping you get ready for your Thanksgiving Day feast. Today we're making one of my favorite sides. It is roasted apples and sweet potatoes. It is absolutely delicious and bound to be a hit at your Thanksgiving dinner, so let's get started.
Here's what you're going to need. 1 sweet potato, 2 apples, 4 tablespoons of butter, 4 tablespoons of maple syrup, salt, and cinnamon.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sweet potato and I'm going to chop it up into about 1-inch chunks. So I'm going ahead and leaving the skin on these potatoes so that way they will continue to hold their shape even while they're cooking, and that way they don't get too mushy. Once I've got that all chopped up, then I'm going to put that into the bowl, and then I'm going to add in about half of my butter. We don't want to put all of it in, we got to save some for the apples. So we're going to pour that over. Make sure they're coated. So we're going to stir that up, make sure they're just all covered in butter before we pour them onto our baking sheet. All right, so make sure they're nice and spread out so that way they all cook evenly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some salt and just sprinkle that over the top. And we're going to throw it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. While that is cooking, we're going to go ahead and get our apples going too. So again, we're going to chop them up into about 1-inch chunks, leaving the peel on them because apples really do get mushy if they don't have the peel on them. So make sure you keep the peel on your apples when you're making this dish. But again, cutting it up into about 1-inch chunks. Once you've got the apples all chopped up, then we're going to throw them in that same bowl that we just poured the sweet potatoes in. Whoops, lost a few. Got a few casualties over here. We'll just plop them right back in. There we go. Pour the rest of our butter into this bowl to coat the apples. And then we're also going to add in our maple syrup. And then we're going to sprinkle in some cinnamon. Then we're going to stir that up, make sure all the apples are coated too. Once you've got that all stirred up, then we're going to take our sweet potatoes out of the oven. Ooh, they're starting to look good. And then we're going to pour our apples just right on top of that. And again, make sure things are spread out so it gets all cooked evenly. And then they're going to go back in the oven for another 20 minutes. There we go. All right. Be right back. All right, it sounds like it's ready and it is smelling absolutely amazing in here. All right, looks like we are ready to go. All right, so once you've got that done, then all you have to do is scoop them up and serve them up, and you can enjoy them at your Thanksgiving table. All right, right, so a couple of fun stories about that recipe. So back in 2020 during the pandemic, Cooking with Kaitlyn actually started off as a YouTube channel, and it was called Kaitlyn's Kitchen. Now that was one of the first recipes that I made on that channel, and it was one of the first times I had ever tried it. And of course, my family got to enjoy all of the food I made as I was going down this adventure of learning how to cook for TV, and they loved that recipe and requested it every year. And then it was also one of the first recipes that I made for my future in-laws last year at Thanksgiving, and they also loved it and have requested it again this year. So if you make it at home, your family is sure to love it, and I definitely want to hear about it. So make sure to reach out on my social medias and let me know how that one goes. All right, it's time to get to the best parts, desserts. And I have a recipe for you that is, again, something that you can do with some leftovers. Now, if you've got some pumpkin pie laying around and you're kind of tired of just eating it by the slice, well, then you can try it by the bite. Here is pumpkin pie truffles. Well, pumpkin pie is a fall staple, but I have got a fun little sweet treat that you can turn this classic dish into a fun little snack. Today we are going to be making some pumpkin pie truffles, and they're so good you're gonna love it, and they're super easy. Let's go ahead and get started. Here's what you're gonna need. 1 pumpkin pie, white chocolate, and some pumpkin spice. Alrighty, so the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to take our pumpkin pie and we are going to just put that into a bowl like this. Now I've already got it all sliced up, so I'm gonna just take this slice, throw that in there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take some of the crust off of the edges and keep that just in this dish. We're going to be using it as some topping later. So then once you've got all of your pumpkin pie into a bowl, we're going to take a mixer and we're just going to mix it all together until it becomes like a dough. All right, so then once you have got that all mixed up, you want to make sure it's really nice and smooth. You don't have big chunks of your crust in there, because what we're going to do next is we are going to grab a baking sheet with some parchment paper, and then we are going to grab a scoop up one of these, and then ball it up, and then we're going to dip it into some white chocolate. Make sure it's nice and covered. And then put that right on to our baking sheet. Make sure you've got lots of white chocolate all over your little pumpkin pie bite. And we're just gonna keep doing that until we have got all of our mixture covered in chocolate. And then what we're gonna do is sprinkle just a little bit of pumpkin pie spice on top. And then we're gonna take those crust pieces that we have left over, we're gonna break that up and stick a little crumble on top like this. And then we're going to stick it in the fridge for about 20-30 minutes, let it get nice and set up, and then they are ready to serve and enjoy. All right, so a couple of little tips for you when it comes to making that recipe. So the first thing was I learned that if I scooped the pumpkin pie mixture and put it into a ball form and then stuck it in the freezer for about 10 minutes, that actually made it a lot easier when it came to dipping it in chocolate. It held its form a little bit better. And the next tip is going to be that instead of using a spoon like I did in that video, use a fork to dip it into the chocolate. Now another thing to keep in mind, if you freeze the dough mixture before you dip it in chocolate, that's going to cause the chocolate to get really hard really fast. So if you're wanting to sprinkle some crumbs on top, or maybe even sprinkle some of that pumpkin pie spice, then you're going to have to get your spoon or your fork and put a little bit extra white chocolate on top in order to get that topping to stick. Another thing that you can do is you can actually dip them in dark chocolate, and that is very good as well. All right, the final thing we have for you today is I had my friend Katie from Pickwick and Cherry come into the studio to teach me how to make some sugar cookies with royal icing. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we can learn. We are in the kitchen today, and I am with Katie with Pickwick and Cherry, who's going to be teaching me how to decorate some sugar cookies. So first off, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely, this is so fun.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So this is a skill that I just do not have. It is not in my repertoire, so I am super excited to learn from you today.
That's fair. And the thing you always have to remember is the ugliest cookie is still a cookie.
Yes.
You get to eat it.
So it's delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. So
Okay.
what do we need to do first?
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is something we did before I got here, which is we need to make royal icing. Royal icing is a meringue stabilized frosting, so it's the stuff that you see on cookies that gets nice and hard and shiny. If you want a soft frosting on a cookie, that's buttercream, and that's a whole other set of skills. So the first thing you want is you want to have the right materials. There are two basic consistencies of royal icing. There's a stiff variety, which is also called outline, and there's another one called flood, or like fill in, basically. So one is runny, one is what is not runny. We're working with the runny ones today,
Okay.
living in an exciting way. The other thing we need is we need sugar cookies. We bake ours a little bit darker than a lot of people because color is flavor, and they taste better. We've done taste tests with a gajillion people, and as it turns out, people like their cookies a little bit browner. So we do it that way.
Okay.
So assuming you got some royal icing and you've got some cookies, then we get to the decorating skills part. The first and most important thing is, how do you hold a pastry bag? Actually, the first and most important thing is, how do you get the frosting into a pastry bag? And the answer is, you got to roll it down to get into it. Otherwise, it's going to be trying to close on you and you end up with goop everywhere. You don't want goop everywhere. So once you get your stuff in the pastry bag, you're going to squish it down and then you twist it. And the key here is that this twist is going to provide most of the pressure in the bag.
Okay.
And when it keeps it nice and full. So then all I have to do is just squeeze just a tiny bit with these fingers so that it comes out, and I don't have to squeeze hard, because when you squeeze hard, your hands shake. And that is a lot of the problem.
Okay.
The other thing I see people do a lot of times is they will squeeze here from the middle, and as you can see, the frosting is going mostly up. That's how you end up with armpit full of frosting, which is not as fun as you might imagine. In our classes, we always, we go through the twist. If you're right-handed, this should be your right hand. If you're left-handed, etc. This hand is just for stabilization. And in my classes, when I do this, I always make people raise their non-dominant hand and take the following oath. This is not my squeezing hand.
This is not my squeezing hand.
Not my squeezing hand. Because people really want to squeeze. Don't squeeze. So the other thing you got to know about a pastry bag, at least with royal icing, is this is a gravity-fed device. This is not an ink pen. So if you try to hold it like a pencil or something, again, armpit full of frosting. No fun. Now we're going to go to my favorite cookie to decorate, and we decorate a lot of different designs of cookies, but these turkeys are my favorite.
All right. They are super cute.
They are super cute, and I'm going to do one, and then you're going to do one.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay. Get your squeezing hand ready. Okay. Start with some brown and just fill him in. And when you're doing this, especially if you know you're going to be adding a lot of other color to it, you want to make sure that you're not overfilling the cookie, or the whole design will run off and kind of look like a Dali painting, which, if you're into that kind of thing, is great. So I'm just kind of adding squiggles, and then I don't use a tool or anything for this. I just kind of use the tip of the bag to fill it in a little bit, like that.
You make it look so easy.
Yeah, I always say that my cookies look good until you try it, and then they look amazing. Okay. Incidentally, when you put the pastry bag down, put it on its butt so that it can't leak on the floor.
Okay.
All right, so now we've got a bunch of other colors that we're going to incorporate. And with royal icing, the cool thing about it is that if this is wet and the thing you put on top of it's wet, it will self-level, and the pattern will go right down into the cookie. If you're doing that with stiff icing, different ball of wax. But in this particular case, so I can just lay down, and then I'll come back to the red for his waddle. We're going to lay down some stripes. The yellow, that's orange. And we'll give him a nice orange beak and some orange feet while we're at it.
Perfect.
Yeah, the feet tend to snap off. I have some real feelings about how certain cookie cutters are designed. I feel like you have never used this cutter, friend.
So you offer classes where
We
you
do.
teach not
Yes.
only cookie decorating, but you teach
We
a
teach
lot of
everything.
things.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of cookie decorating classes coming up in December. We're doing a Cookies of the World class coming up, which is kind of fun.
Okay.
We are doing holiday baking traditions, which is some of the like big stuff from all over the world for Christmas. And then once we get into January, we have bread classes, we have chocolate making classes, we have eclairs and croissants, and then we also do our date night cooking dinners, which are super fun and extremely popular, and he needs an eyeball.
Yes, my fiance and I actually took one of the date night cooking classes.
Which one did you come to?
We went to, I believe it was Greek.
Oh, I love
night.
Greek.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was so
What
much
I see.
fun. It was really good. We had a great time.
Okay, that's amazing. Here is the bingo on the turkey. So what we're going to do now is we've got all of our stripes on here, and he looks fine, you know. But this is a nice turkey. But I'm going to take a toothpick or a skewer or whatever you happen to have lying around, and go like that.
Magic.
And that gives you those nice kind of fantail feathers, and we'll do that. And like that, and look at that guy.
Amazing. That looks fantastic.
Okay,
All right.
you're on the spot.
It won't be near as good. So,
I
okay,
believe in you.
so twist and then
Yeah, so you hold it between these two fingers.
hold it. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
and then squeeze from the top.
Okay, I'm going to go with this guy here.
Okay.
And squeeze from the top,
Squeeze from the top, straight up and down.
straight up and down.
Yeah.
All right, so then I started filling up the cookie with the brown frosting and then painted on the colors for the tail. And then we grabbed the little stick tool to make the feathers, and it turned out not too bad.
Look at those.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, we're
not
halfway
too
to a flower.
bad.
Not
All right.
too shabby. You should feel good about that.
All right, so there you go. And if you want to learn how to make cookies like those, then you can head on over to pickwickandcherry.com and check out all of the cooking classes that Katie has to offer. And it's not just cookies like we talked about on that segment, that she does all kinds of date nights, so you can learn how to do Italian food or German food or Greek food. It's amazing. It's so much fun. It's definitely a great date night. I can't recommend that enough. She also offers a variety of specialty classes, so if you're wanting to learn how to perfect your bread making skills or even want to take a try at making your own cheese, then you can again go to pickwickandcherry.com, check out all of her cooking classes, and they are an absolute blast. So definitely go check her out. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed all of the recipes that I have put together for you. And if you want to try these recipes out for yourself, you can go to ky3.com. I have a whole list of Cooking with Kaitlyn Thanksgiving special recipes for you. So head on over there. You can check them out. They've got links to the videos, so that way you can go and watch the tutorial if you need a little bit of help. And of course, reach out to me on social media and let me know how it goes. Thanks again for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a happy holiday season. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.